I've got to tell you, I'm really excited to have you guys work on this particular one because I love skateboard art. So, what you're going to be doing with this is you're going to use Illustrator to create your own unique custom vector art. That could be a vector pattern, it could be something that you've traced over with the vector tools, like maybe it's a photo that you've traced or it's your own drawing. You could put that in there. Could be a lot of topography. If you want to do some like really cool eye-catching kind of type that you could put on there. There's so much variety that you can do with skateboard design. So let me show you on my Pinterest board. I can just show you the examples. Everything from really geometric type forms to a mixture of geometric forms and text to really intricate, like detailed graphics, all the way to, let's go back. You can see the variety of stuff that's here. This one's really cool with just straight stacked text running on there. That's a really cool effect. Or doing this really cute drawing kind of thing. You've got to imagine the skateboard itself, it could end up essentially just being kind of a funky shape that you're doing some kind of artwork in. Like this. Whoops, I don't know why I don't want to pin that. I want to show that one. Let me click on that. So you can see it's just like a scene. That's really cool. All the way down to things that are more, pattern, a little bit more abstract. Got some abstract piece. I love the little alien that's there with some text, alien worship. This kind of cool, interesting, intricate pattern that's on there. More detailed drawing, some pattern related stuff, some cartooning. I love Clyde Singleton does some amazing cartoon style stuff from the 90s. Really, really interesting layouts and designs, all the way from really hand-drawn stuff to more patterns to a combination. There is so much opportunity with this to really show off what you want in this kind of skateboard design. So with this, here's the process. What you're going to do is it has to be a custom-made graphic. What I mean by that is you can't just take a photograph and drop the photo on there and be like, yes, I'm done. That's not the point. I want you to be able to show off your Illustrator skills. So what that means is you're going to need to trace over it. Now, there is a thing called image trace. The only time you're going to use image trace is if you actually drew something. So talk to me about that, and I'll show you some resources on how to make it a little bit easier and faster to colorize something that you've drawn. But what you're going to start with, as always, is gathering inspiration. So get onto Pinterest and create a new board called Skateboard and find at least 25 or 30 different pins that you can put on there. It's not going to be hard. There's a ton out there. So you can find a lot of different things that are there. Then what you'll do is look through the tutorials and some of the inspiration videos that I have here in the resources. So I've put down a couple of the tutorials. Now with these tutorials, you can skim through them and just kind of see what the techniques are, but I don't want you to use those exact tutorials and turn those in, because I'd like to be able to see some of your own experimentation. But I also know it's somewhat daunting or a little frightening sometimes to start completely from scratch. So maybe going in and looking at those and seeing what's possible is something you could try. So this one's done with creating a repetitive pattern using type. Here's one doing different shapes. Here's one that's going in and using a hand-drawn illustration and then using the perspective grid to create kind of this pattern, this checker pattern. Sorry, I'm trying to think of a word. Here's a really cool like textured pattern deck. I just want to show you one in here. It's pretty cool. So with this particular technique, they created this really intricate looking pattern, but it started out with the idea of, well, maybe I'll throw in some pictures of some tomatoes, a banana, and a strawberry, and then created on a grid, tracing over and creating kind of abstract versions of what those things are, and then starting to tuck them all together. So this was a really interesting way to create a pattern. Thought that was kind of cool. It's an old school method, but definitely neat. I also have on here, this part. So then the next thing is you're going to want to look to see what shape of board do you want to use. Do you want to use this like really old school one? Do you want to do a long board? You can pick any of these that you want. Now, I did not make templates for every one of these, but what I did do is right here. I've given you, if you click on this, this will let you download. and you'll have to, oh, that's the wrong one. I'll fix this before I upload and make this available. But it's going to be this old school deck, and I've got it set up as an Illustrator file to save you a little bit of time if you want to start with that one. Or, let me minimize that. I have this one here. That is an actual Illustrator file. That's a longboard. You'll just download it. And I've already got the shape pre-made here, and you'll be able to work within that framework. You might end up putting that on its own layer and then locking it and then being able to turn it on and off. And then you can do the graphics underneath and use that as a mask so that it fits only within that shape. If you want to use one of the other ones, where'd it go? There we go. Sorry, again, too many pieces. I closed out of the template. Let's go back over here. Skateboard design. So you can pick any other one of these if you want. And I've included a link to where those are at and a way on how to convert those templates to an outline so that you don't. So you'll have basically what I created up here, but with a different shape. I've also included some videos here on how to do the image trace if you're doing your own drawing, and then how to use this thing called Live Paint that we didn't really get into that will make it to where you don't have to trace every single one of those shapes. You're going to be able to do some color directly on there. So it's going to be a cool way to be able to set this up. All right, let's go back up here. Expand this so you can see more of it. So what you'll end up doing, again, is you'll start with your Pinterest board and just look for a ton of different designs. Then you're going to look and review over the resources, choose a board, and then you're going to need to sketch out at least 10 possible ideas. Now, remember, again, with your sketches, I'm so not worried about your drawing skills. If you're doing this based on your drawing yourself, then yeah, you can spend more time with it, but I wouldn't at the beginning. Start out really rough and just do some rough sketches. So I'm looking for 10 of these. You'll be showing those off in your screencast later. I'm not going to collect them right now. Then you'll design your own unique graphic in Illustrator. And again, I've got to say, you can't use image trace if it's not your own drawing. You're going to end up going in with just the pen tool or the curve tool or shapes and be able to do that. Or you can create patterns. And then you might consider including a logo. Maybe it's yours. Maybe it's your individual monogram. You toss it in there as a signature or something. Just an idea. And then what you'll end up doing is you'll end up exporting this out as a PDF. And then you're going to submit the PDF and the Illustrator file to me. And you'll record a screencast, and I'll give you more details on that later. So if this is the one that you want to choose to work on, go ahead and start with step number 1. And then review through your resources, and we'll talk more about kind of timelines and what to do after we get started in the next week.